Hi everyone, it's Stephanie Johnson again with the first part of the final project presentation for Module 13 for myself and Krista Myers, and this is our project on the web Never Forgets. As you remember, we started out looking at the community focused on IKeepSafe.org. This is the Internet Keep Safe Coalition focused on keeping the world's children safe while using technology and the internet. And we started working with them because they have a lot of different activities here where they were working with different groups and had lots of material. So we thought we could mine that for lots of interesting things. Their members were predominantly parents, professionals, and educators. They also included some other communities and government partners. As we worked through the course and began to expand our knowledge as we read Groundswell and talked about Gladwell's categories, we divided some of the people who participated on I Keep Safe into the categories of creator and mavens and connectors. And a lot of these were people who were either teachers or associated with education or who had a role in creating apps, as you'll see here. There were also critics. They were largely invisible because these are the underbelly of the internet, and we didn't have any interaction with any of those, luckily. But we did identify them. So for our persona for this community, it was largely a female community that was married with 2 kids, mostly concerned with children's safety. But the folks generally worked in education, cybersecurity, or law enforcement. Now, the law enforcement group did tend to skew a little bit more on the male side, so that did sort of mess up our demographics a little bit. But the woman in the photograph here is a former First Lady of Utah, and that is generally, she was the founder of the organization. But the income of this group varies widely because there are also educators involved. So you have some educators who are not very well paid, compared to some pretty high paid politician types. So it was a pretty diverse group in that regard. Mostly suburban, computer savvy, shopping online, and largely conservative. What we also learned about our community as we got into it was that it was much broader than we thought, but not quite as deep. As we began to find other organizations that did similar work to I Keep Safe, we thought, my goodness, there's quite a group out here. But it turned out that a lot of the key influencers were in all these different organizations. So it's very broad, but not quite as deep as we thought it was. We kept seeing some of the same names pop up, and some of them began popping up in our social media work, which was very good for us. Issue campaigns like this require a great deal of care and feeding, and particularly care about the way you're posting. So we were very careful, especially when we waded off into the territory of cyberbullying or bullying, and we even made a post about teen suicide, which we were very careful about how we did that. This community uses social media prolifically. They follow issues that matter to them, and they also use social media to manage their lives. So we learned that they do a lot of shopping, a lot of Facebook and Twitter interaction, but they also follow a lot of blogs. So that's where we focused. When we did our post strategy, when we got to that point of the course, we pretty well had our people identified as parents and educators. And we mostly knew they were talking on Facebook and Twitter, often sparked by current events like bullying in the NFL or the privacy changes on the Facebook pages. So our objectives were to first listen and then talk and then work toward energizing this community, because we found plenty of material and lots of contacts and groups to keep the conversation going here about this pretty complicated issue with lots of different fingers to it that we could go down. So with those objectives in mind, our strategy was to be better connected, to have a better connected community. So we were going to talk and talk more. We were going to improve awareness of services and resources and help energize the community by spreading that word. And we were going to improve information about current concerns, about sharing information about current concerns in the community by listening and then working on sharing some information about that. So our campaign rationale, focus, and subject matter for our campaign here the last few weeks but was based on the fact that internet safety always matters to this group no matter what. So we decided we would use the holidays to focus on the electronic shopping and the tablets people buy for their kids, to focus on internet safety. And we came up on our calendar, on our content calendar, with different ways to talk about that, like online safety tips, parenting tips, or even the BYOD, or bring your own device efforts that some schools are entering into. We started out with 2 hashtags at the beginning of the campaign. As time went on, we added 2 based on some things we were seeing in monitoring, and that was BYOD, for bring your own device, and also holiday shopping. This was our platform flow. We started out with the blog, and then went to Storify, which really is like a super blog, as Crystal likes to call it, a blog on steroids. The third platform we went to with our stories was Facebook, and then finally we would go to Twitter. This is our blog, and many of you saw this on Professor Hong's lecture, so that you've seen that we've gotten a lot more follows recently, and I think Chris is going to talk about what caused that. And this was our Storify page, and we have a few more followers since I screen captured this, but this has been a real interesting platform for us to learn about. We encourage you guys to try to learn about it too. This is our Twitter account, and we are following and being followed by a number of the leaders in the community, and that makes us very happy. And this is our Facebook page. So we targeted some key influencers during this part of the campaign. Because they were already following us on Twitter or Facebook, we hoped that we could perhaps get shares and retweets in these last few weeks, and we're still looking for that in some cases, but Chris is going to talk to you a little more about that. But these are some of the names that were following us, and we're very pleased that we've managed to get inroads into some of these folks who are keynote speakers, noted experts in the field, and organizations that we talked about earlier that are very similar to IKeepSafe.org, where we started. So these were the newly targeted influencers for the second part of our campaign. Our campaign goals were essentially to get more followers, because we were still in the building phase and very low in that. But we also wanted the right followers, so we were reaching out to those key influencers, in some cases directly. We wanted more retweets and further reach. We were looking for some positive sentiment and a little bit of passionate conversation if we could get it. So our tactics were to blog or Storify, or use Storify every day or every other day depending on traffic. And we got pretty close to every day, I think, in most cases. We would tweet or retweet every day. Sorry, I have a hard time saying that for some reason tonight. We decided we would reach out personally to some influencers, key influencers, and a few others, and we would ask new followers to join us. And then by George, we would follow the content calendar. And there's our content calendar, just for a little quick snap of that. And we were here following the content about e-devices in the beginning of the holiday season. We talked about the listing of best devices for kids and experts, and even listed books about cyberbullying as a possible holiday gifts. We've also wrote about the BYOD guidelines, and so we followed that to the hilt. Our campaign measurement, we at the beginning of the campaign identified these different platforms to help us with that. We were mostly interested in social mention and Google trends, but we'll see what comes out of that. So the second part of this presentation, Krista's going to do, and I'd just like to say it's been a pleasure working with all y'all. That's the plural of y'all down south here. So during this semester, and thanks for everything. So Krista, it's all yours.